Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Israeli. Today we're going to talk about the peace process, the United Nations and Israel and Palestine and how this all connects. So one of the demands that Mahmoud Abbas has to continue the peace process is to be part of the quartet, which is Russia, United States, the European Union, and the United Nations. Now, in the last video, I talked about how Russia can be sort of a balance against the United States so the Palestinians can feel comfortable and Israel has good relations with Russia, so it shouldn't be a problem. The European Union, which is a bit biased against Israel, but things are changing in the European Union a little bit, so I guess we can have the European Union as well over there. But the United Nations cannot be part of this process. They have proven time and time again that they're not objective, that they are very biased, and that they are dysfunctional. If anybody here can tell me one positive thing that the United Nations has done for the world, I'm all ears. It was supposed to be a council of democratic countries, but then they decided to let everybody in and slowly convince them to become more democratic. And what we see happening is that the opposite is happening. Countries that are non-democratic are becoming more of a dictatorship, and countries that are democratic have to defend their democracies, and their democracies are under fire. That's what the United Nations did. Ask Africa how happy they are with the projects the United Nations has there. There's a reason why they don't trust vaccines in Africa, because the United Nations did some horrible stuff over there. So the United Nations is not an institution that should be trusted. Personally, I don't even think it's an institution that should still exist. You have over there a lot of people that are getting paid for nothing. They're getting paid for playing diplomacy, for playing politics. It's cosplay with a very large salary. Yeah? So let's see here, who are the members of the United Nations? So I'll go through the list very fast, and you can tell me how many of the countries that you see here are actually democratic. Chile, China, Colombia, Congo, are they democratic? Costa Rica, maybe? Yeah, I think Costa Rica is. I'm not sure. Cuba? Very democratic, Cuba. Oh, Denmark. Here we go. We have a democratic country. But this one I love. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea. That's North Korea, yeah. Very democratic and very much in the UN. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Also very democratic and also very part of the UN. Egypt. I don't see here almost any. France, the European countries, but the majority, the vast majority of countries in the United Nations are not democratic, and they are deciding, they think they have the right to decide for the free world how to act. Yeah, this is crazy. Qatar, Portugal, democratic, very good. So you see, it's crazy what's going on. Okay, now here we have UN Watch. Watchdog calls out UN Rights Council's hypocrisy, anti-Israel biased. Yeah, and he explains here, no other country in the world is subject to its own agenda item. There is a once-a-month special hearing about Israel. Every month in the United Nations, yeah? About Israel. Not North Korea, not China, not Venezuela, not Syria, not Libya, not Congo, not Zimbabwe, not Sudan, nothing. Israel. Yeah? Not even one that has killed 500,000 of its own people, or another that has 1 million Muslims locked up in re-education camps. An action that incidentally was praised by the Palestinian ambassador in a letter published as here. You can see that. For the 44th time to verify the Jewish state, it will simply have no time for millions of victims around the world. They continue to go ignored. Now, just so you see here, this is the condemnations from 2006 to 2019. North Korea, 12. Zimbabwe, 0. Yeah, we know how good their human rights are. Myanmar, 25. Venezuela, 1. We know Venezuela is a beautiful human rights country where human rights are kept to the letter. We know that, right? Pakistan, 0. Somalia, 0. Of course, those are awesome countries as well as far as human rights. Belarus, 9. Eritrea, 9. We'll get to Israel soon. Turkey, a perfect 0. Nothing is wrong there. Turkey is probably one of the greatest, most humanitarian countries on the planet, right? Sudan, nothing. Syria, 32. Do you know how many people died in Syria in the last few years? Have you followed it? Hundreds of thousands. Millions, I think. Hundreds of thousands of people died. Yeah? China, 0, of course, because China is an angel of a country. Saudi Arabia, we know no human rights violations there. We know that women are free to do what they want. The gay community is free to do what they want there. We know. Qatar, Iran, 9. In Iraq, 0. Now, Israel, 85. A democratic country that has equal rights within the country. It has its problems, yeah. But 85 resolutions. That's more than all the others there combined. Yeah, more than all of them combined. Does that seem logical to anybody who's watching this video? Yeah. Over here, you can see the list of, I'll put the links in the description below. This is a links, Human Rights and Rule of Law Index. 0 is high, very good. 10 is low, very bad. Country rankings. So number 1 is Syria, and the last one, I think the best one is Finland. Yeah, all the way down at the bottom. Now, if you'll see the countries that are in the UN Human Rights Council, almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them, more than half, have a much, much worse human rights record than Israel. And they are the ones sitting on the Human Rights Council, and they are the one judging Israel. Yeah, and that's why this is happening, because the United Nations has I don't know if a majority, but a lot of the countries are Muslim countries, which will be immediately against Israel. And a lot of the countries are just like, they have interest with the Muslim countries because it's a lot of them, and they also cooperate. So it's biased. It's obviously biased against Israel, and it cannot be part of the peace process. It cannot be part of the peace process. Okay, now I want to show you this article. United States Human Rights Council poised to approve war crimes probe into Israel and Gaza, Jerusalem. Yeah, into Israel. Not Hamas, and we'll get to that in a second. Pakistan, which we already said, Pakistan is a perfect country with no human rights violations at all whatsoever. We know that, right? And the Palestinian Authority submitted a resolution on the creation of a fact-finding mission that will be voted on Thursday when the United Nations Human Rights Council holds a special session on the matter in Geneva. Okay. Is expected to establish to inquire Israeli actions against Palestinians during the period leading up to and including the 11-day Gaza war that ended in May 21. The fact-finding committee of judicial experts would investigate Israeli activities in Gaza and Jerusalem, as well as an ethnic riot that broke out in mixed cities within sovereign Israel. Yeah, look at the audacity. In Israel, in Hebrew, we call it chutzpah. Look at the audacity. They think they have the right to investigate things that are happening inside a sovereign state. A democratic sovereign state at that. Yeah? The audacity of these people. It would start a probe actively from April 13 to April 3rd, 2021, and there is no end date for the investigation, which means it's going to be ongoing. Yeah, ongoing. On Thursday, we'll hold a special session in Geneva. It is expected to receive a majority vote in the 47-member, but of course, because most of them are non-democratic countries, Muslim countries, that are biased against Israel to begin with. So I'll be surprised if there wouldn't be a majority there. I'll be very, very surprised. Yeah? Human rights activists, tomorrow Israel will present the facts on the ground. We call on member states to resume their moral responsibility and oppose the resolution. Now, okay, and here, of course, Israel is talking against it. They're talking against it, but the important thing is this. Here, this is the important thing. The statement did not mention Hamas. Hamas did not exist. The more than 4,000 rockets it launched at Israel during the war, or the tens of people within Israel who died as a result, including 2 children. It did not speak of Hamas militants who were killed by the IDF, or the Palestinian civilians killed when Hamas rockets fell short. misfired on their own people and killed civilians. Proven. This doesn't talk about it. Nothing. In this resolution, Israel woke up one day and decided to bomb Gaza. And that's it. Yeah? Why? Who knows? Last time was 2014. I guess 7 years. They said, well, 7 years is a lucky number. We'll attack Gaza again. For fun. Because we're bored. There's nothing better to do. No Hamas. No 4,000 rockets in Israel. No militants. No Hamas militants. They don't exist. So, of course, they can't be killed if they don't exist. And no civilians were killed by Hamas because Hamas does not exist. So how can civilians be killed by them? Now, come on, people. This is crazy. And this is the United Nations, a body that gets billions and billions and billions of dollars. Yeah? And it's not doing anything. If anybody thinks that this kind of approach is going to help peace, then please explain to me how this is going to help peace. How being totally one-sided, totally biased is going to advance peace. Because this I don't understand. Now the United Nations has been doing this more or less since it began. It's nothing new. We as Israelis were more or less used to it. And that's the reason that the Israeli government doesn't trust the United Nations. We don't believe in the United Nations, we don't trust them, and we never will. It's a biased, corrupted, dysfunctional institution that thinks it has the right to tell sovereign countries how to act, even though it represents the majority of horrible countries that are in the world, and it doesn't do anything to change them. It was supposed to change those dictatorial countries into democratic countries, and it hasn't done it, not even with one. Show me one country that was non-democratic when it came into the UN and now is democratic. One country, please. There are none. Yeah? Someone might bring Burma because they had election, and now we find out that their president that got elected is also a war criminal. Yeah? And now the military is back in charge over there. So show me one country that started democratic and non-democratic and is democratic today in the UN. The UN is an unnecessary institution. Israel will never trust it, and it cannot be part of the peace process. Yeah? And I think that the way they continue acting is against the interest of peace. And like I said, many people have an interest in war, have an interest in this conflict. And the United Nations is one of those institutions that have an interest in this conflict and have an interest in war. That's what they get their money for. That's what they employ people to do, to investigate conflicts and that type of stuff. So they are for conflicts, they are for war, they are for diseases, they are for all the horrible things, so they can come in as the saviors. But guess what? You're not fooling anybody. You're not saving anybody. You're just an unnecessary institution. And if you will be part of this peace process, then I will not be surprised if it's going to fail once again. I am not going to be surprised at all. In this peace process, only parties that are actually interested in advancing peace should be part of it. Israel, Palestinians, and America, Russia, that's enough. Yeah? And the European Union, if they want to join in and be fair about it, we can talk about that as well. But the United Nations, I can't force the big parties not to have you as part of it because you're part of the quartet. But I prefer you won't be there. And if you will be part of it, then it's going to fail. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching this video up until the end. I appreciate all those people who watch until the end. You guys are amazing. If you like this content, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. So have a great day. Bye.